Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was born in Karachi on December 25, 1876, in a family of middle-class traders that originally hailed from Gujarat, Kathiawar. He was given the name Muhammad Ali Jinnah at birth by his father, Muhammad Ali Jinnah by Punja, and mother Shiren Bibi, who was also known affectionately as Methi Bai. He later adopted the name Muhammad Ali Jinnah, while preferring to introduce himself as M.A. Jinnah. A private tutor was hired to teach him the basics at home. Later, he attended Sindh Madrasatul Islam and Church Mission Society High School in Karachi and Anjuman-i-Islam School in Bombay. He was interested in horseback riding and sports, particularly cricket, and was a regular visitor to the equestrian stables. During his teens, Jinnah's father got involved in commercial litigation that he eventually lost. Being the eldest of 3 brothers and 4 sisters, Jinnah had to enter practical life to help out the family. He left for London at age 16 to serve as an apprentice in the head office of the firm, Graham Trading Company. The firm was owned by Frederick Lee Croft, a business contact of Jinnah's father. At a tender age, Jinnah was expected to help solve his family's financial predicament while learning the practicalities of business administration. In London, Jinnah did not waste any time understanding the importance of education for a successful career. He was, however, more interested in law than business administration. Flexibility in admission rules allowed him to pursue a career in the legal field. To get himself enrolled in a bar-at-law program at the prestigious Lincoln's Inn, he had to qualify for the high-standard entrance tests. With extraordinary hard work, he passed the required courses of English language and English history, while managing to convince special counsel of the inn, headed by John Westlake, to get an exemption from the Latin language exam. After getting admitted to Lincoln's Inn, he was required to complete the coursework in 3 years. Even though he was one of the few students who had joined the program without attending any prior college, he passed the required examination in less than 2 years. He had to stay in London for another 15 months to attend dinners and meetings at Lincoln's Inn. He was called to the bar on April 29, 1896. The exposure to Western society and liberal practices in London changed Jinnah's life. Besides understanding the local culture and traditions, he was introduced to politics. He used to sit in the visitors' gallery to the debates in the House of Commons on a regular basis. Jinnah returned to Karachi to practice law. The city at the time was a relatively small trading outpost. Jinnah had bigger ambitions that prompted him to move to Bombay within few months of his return. There, he enrolled himself at the High Court on August 24, 1894. Soon he was recognized amongst the reputed barristers of the city. Inspired by his personality and competence, John Macpherson, the Advocate General of Bombay, appointed him 3rd Presidency Magistrate on May 1, 1900, against a leave vacancy. Based on his performance, Sir Charles Ollivant, law member of the Governor's Council, decided to induct him in the British Judicial Service on a permanent basis against a handsome salary of 1,500 rupees only per month. It was indeed a very lucrative offer for a young lawyer, but Jinnah declined it and decided to continue his private practice. He established himself as one of the leading lawyers of India. At the peak of his career in the mid-1930s, he used to charge 1,500 rupees only per day, one of the highest among his contemporaries, as with him winning the case was almost guaranteed. Motivated by the personalities like Dadabhai Naoroji, Fairoz Mehta, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Jinnah decided to join politics. He was an Indian nationalist at the onset of his political career. The party that best reflected his political ideals at the time was the Indian National Congress, which he joined in 1906. He started establishing contacts with the leadership of the All India Muslim League in 1910 and tried to persuade them to work for a common Indian agenda against the imperial masters. He later joined the party in 1913. His hard work proved successful as both Congress and the League in their annual sessions at Lucknow in 1916 presented the same demands before the British. Because of his efforts, Sarojini Naidu gave him the title of the Ambassador of the Hindu-Muslim Unity. His efforts as the member of Home Rule League an association he joined in June 1917, his open conflict with Wellington, the governor of Bombay, in 1918, and his resignation from the membership of the Imperial Legislative Council in March 1919 in protest against the enforcement of Rowlatt Act testify to his anti-imperialist ideology and his sincerity with the cause of territorial nationalism in India. Jinnah eventually quit Congress during December 1920 in its session held in Nagpur because of his differences with the methodology adopted by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi during the non-cooperation campaign. The Indian nationalist in him, however, remained alive. His attempts of reconciliation in his Delhi proposals of March 1927, the decision to boycott Simon Commission in 1928-29, and advocacy of the Indian cause during the first two round-table conferences that he attended in 1930 and 1931 are examples of his dedication to the cause. Jinnah understood that the political realities in India were different from the Western societies, and thus, from the very start, he remained conscious of the future of the Muslim community. Even being an Indian nationalist, he demanded right of separate electorate for the Muslims of India and the maximum number of Muslim-majority provinces with complete provincial autonomy in a federal structure. Yet, due to the stubborn attitude of the Congress leadership, especially while drafting the Nehru Report, Jinnah was gradually convinced that it had become difficult for the Muslims to coexist in a united India. He presented his famous 14 points in 1929 as the last solution to keep his struggle for a united independent India intact. With the rejection of his demands by Congress, he decided to take a break from the active politics and settled in London. While Jinnah was looking for an alternative solution to the Indian problem, Allama Muhammad Iqbal was expounding a philosophical explanation to the concept of Muslim nationalism. Jinnah got interested in delineating Iqbal's ideals into political reality. He returned to India in 1935 to reorganize the League and to energize it at the grassroots level. After the failure of the League to perform on Muslim seats, especially in Muslim-majority provinces during the 1936-37 elections, Jinnah at the Lucknow session of the party made alliances with Unionist Party in the Punjab and Krishak Praja Party in Bengal. This contributed to gaining support for the League's political agenda. However, it was the anti-Muslim policies of Congress ministries that contributed the most to convincing the Muslim population that it had become impossible for them to live in unpartitioned India. When Congress resigned from the ministries, Jinnah asked his supporters to celebrate the Day of Deliverance on December 22, 1939. An overwhelming response from the Muslim community proved to be a vote of confidence in him. With the increasing support of Muslim masses behind him, who by now started calling him the Quaid-i-Azam, the greatest leader, Jinnah outlined his new course of action during the annual session of the Muslim League held at Lahore from March 22 to 24, 1940. Lahore Resolution was passed, and the achievement of separate states in the areas where Muslims were numerically in a majority was declared as the new objective of the party. The following 7 years after passing resolution were perhaps the toughest period in Jinnah's political career. He had taken a challenge that many believed was impossible to achieve. He had to fight on 3 fronts simultaneously: A. To convince the British that Muslims of India were not a minority, but a separate nation; B. To counter the opposition of the Indian National Congress, a much bigger and well-organized party than the League; C. To bring the overwhelming majority of the Muslims on the platform of Muslim League to prove that it was the sole representative of the Muslims of India. Jinnah stood firm and never deviated from his stance during his negotiations on August over 1940, Cripps Proposals, 1942, Rajagopalachari Formula and Jinnah Gandhi Talks, 1944, Wavell Plan and Simla Conference, 1945, Cabinet Mission Plan, 1946, and Mountbatten's Plan for the Transfer of Power, 1947. It was, however, the landslide victory of the League on the Muslim seats during the elections of 1945-46 which strengthened Jinnah's hands and enabled him to compel the British and the Congress to accept the partition. Eventually, it was because of the devotion, dedication, and determination of Jinnah that Pakistan became a reality on August 14, 1947. At the twilight of his career, Jinnah had to switch his role from the leader of a freedom movement to the head of a sovereign state when he assumed the charge as the Governor-General of Pakistan on August 15, 1947. He knew that his new role was particularly difficult given that Pakistan at the time of its inception was facing more challenges than any other state in the history of modern times due to its external threat, fragile economy, dearth of human resources, and sparse state infrastructure. His own health was fast deteriorating as he battled tuberculosis. It was expected from him not only to fix the prevailing problems, but also to show the direction to the future generations of Pakistan. He preferred his country over his rapidly failing health and took the challenge to rescue Pakistan from the challenges it faced. He worked round the clock and with the support of his team managed to solve most of the critical problems of Pakistan and to set the country on the right track. The man who managed to defeat almost all the odds that faced his lofty ambitions eventually surrendered before death on September 11, 1948. The next day, his funeral was attended by hundreds of thousands of mourners before he was buried in the city of his birth, Karachi.
If you enjoy this video, be sure to like, share and subscribe for more videos like this.